gallery just to get started so we can see everybody. Oh, it's so good to see faces of all these names. I love it. Oh, Mary, did you get my email to change your profile?
Yeah, and I had actually done it with the first email. So I don't
Oh,
know why, but I did it again.
okay, great.
Okay. But thank you.
Yeah. Just so that you're going to get all our emails. And did I have a question for you guys really quick? Did you get the normal Mosaic Arts Online email that has our banner on the top first? Mary saying yes. Did everyone did get that one?
I did.
You guys did. Okay. And then you got my second one, which was from a Gmail account. Okay. Great. Good to know. We're just working out some new email situation and want to make sure everyone's getting the information because this is, this is where all the fun happens. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Yeah, you guys are all on time, 2:01, and we already have such a good group. This is great. So really quickly, how many of you have been spending some time on the courses that come with Foundations and Fundamentals and the, getting into the community and the premium content, which is the demo in 20? Great. So you guys are really using this membership program for what it is giving you really some good information, how to do things properly with integrity, really going to someone, me, that's had quite a bit of experience over the years, which is why I wanted to start this membership program, was to really share some good advice for people. So if you are going to create, you can create with integrity. And then obviously, all the teachers that we do work with here at Mosaic Arts Online are the best in what they do. So nothing that you learn is going to be, just off the cuff and stuff like that. And Stephanie, I see some of your work behind you. That looks familiar, like you're learning from our teachers. Really great. Thank you guys. And it's been fun. And please engage more on the community, because that's what it's there for, you guys to really learn. I know we still use Facebook, but if this feels more organized and intentional is kind of what we wanted Foundations and Fundamentals to really become. So yeah, we just have a few more people popping in. Hi, Karen. You got the email as well, which is good. Oh, she's just connecting. So this is great. It's great to see everybody. So what today is about is I have a second camera that I'll flip on and you guys can see me start to create something. And today is really something kind of simple, but got me excited. And if you are in your working studio and you guys want to create, you can. Otherwise, like I said, this is open to questions that you can ask me. And Jerry is here to curate any in the chat if that's easier, because you guys can unmute yourselves and we can talk, and that's all of what this is about, is human engagement. But we want to keep it as organized and, not talk on top of each other, or make sure everyone's questions get as answered as possible. I'm not teaching today, but I am here to, set you in the right path if you feel like you need some more information on something you are working on or something you want to move forward on, and how I can help you do that better. And you guys can get to know each other a little bit. Here you are, like live as we're virtually ever going to be connecting with each other. So, you guys have kind of learned each other's names and have seen each other, in the platform, but now the chance to kind of like have a little bit of that human connection here. So really quick, we got one chat. Is that you, Jer, or is that a chat? Oh, yes. Okay, great. So what I thought we would start with is I'm going to pop the camera over to the other side and just kind of give you an idea of what I'm working on right now, and give you some just pointers on different things that you can think about if you're going to create. And what, they're just little art elements.
Does anyone have any questions or have any comments before you start?
Oh, Jerry wants to know if anyone, and I will too, does anyone have any comments or questions before we get started? And I think the only other thing I would say is that if it starts to get a little too much talking on each other, maybe we can just write the word hand in the chat and then we'll call on you. But right now, if you guys want to pop in and anyone does have any questions or thoughts you want to add, please let's do that now, because, and this doesn't have a necessary time limit. We're going for about an hour, but if it goes a little over, that's okay too. So does anyone have any questions? And you can unmute yourself right now. All you just want to be educated. Okay, that's awesome. All right, I'm just gonna, Stephanie, what?
The piece behind you. I've seen that every time you're online. What is it?
Oh.
Is it mosaic or is it something?
It's a painting. It's a painting.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a very nondescript painting. And then the mantra is behind me.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and then there's the beginner one right there. So do you guys want a quick spin of the studio of where I work?
Sure.
Yeah, you want to see it really quick? All right, so here you go. We're on a lazy Susan with this camera. So this is kind of the side of the studio. And let's see if I can do this. This is, we have a lot of lights in here. That's my desk where I email all of you. And then you go this way and that's kind of our background. And there is, do you see the camera? There's the camera. And then you keep going. And there's the other star of the show. You can wave and say hi. He usually stays behind camera, so he does a lot of that tech work. So that just gives you an idea. This all happens in a very small studio in our home. We love working from home. We could stay a lot closer to the chickens. And we created this space. And if you do ever come to Santa Barbara, you know we have the Santa Barbara School of Mosaic Art, which is an outdoor studio and a dedicated space outdoors for teachers and me to teach. And when I create my large commissions, I usually have to do those outside. So yeah, this is where it all happens, is in this room. And we have a lot of exciting stuff coming out in the next couple months. It's some new teachers that are very popular. So we're super excited to just keep the ball rolling and know that it's a little bit safer now with everyone vaccinated, and that makes us excited. And Jerry and I just got home on Saturday night from Mexico. I taught 2 retreats down in Todos Santos. That was very successful and everyone stayed healthy and had fun and got to relax. So I think we're all going into a new, exciting post, hopefully a good spring. That's all I'm going to say. We're in a good spring. That's what we're into. So I'm going to turn the camera over and you guys can see what I'm thinking about working on. I think, yeah, there it is. So
question about, you said something about whether people were doing the lessons, and then you said something else.
Oh, the demos in 20. Has everyone been checking out the demo in 20? So yeah, you can go look at those, the demos in 20, and there's also, you know, I've got about 3 blogs on there, one on pricing. You can see all of those, and we're going to start talking more about also the business of Mosaic. So if you want to get more into creating a business for yourself with Mosaic, I can talk about the different tips and things that I've done creating my business. That's the only place I can come from is what I did and what my experience is, but I'm happy to share it with all of you. So have any of you worked with an easy frame from Wits End Mosaic? No. Wow. All right. Well, let me show you this before we glue anything down. So these come from Wits End Mosaic, and they come in a variety of sizes. And what they are is, they say, let's see, the light's really bad right now. Where'd it go? There it is. Can you see the word easy? We'll call it easy. It's a word, whatever. Easy frame. These come from Wits End Mosaic. They're custom made for them. They come with hanging hardware that you install. It comes with a substrate that's not black, but it is a waterproof substrate called Go Board that it comes with. Instructions, how to use it, how to install the hanging hardware. And then you have like this really beautiful, clean aluminum frame that you can start working on immediately. So if any of you are familiar with SAMA and 100 Moments, which is one of the programs we run, we send out, you purchase the opportunity to be in 100 Moments, and we send out, or Wits End sends out an easy frame, which is a 6x6. So that's something to consider too if you want to be I think you have till June 1st if you want to be a part of that program. But anyway, what I thought I would do today is I have some Mexican tortilla, smalty tortilla here, and they're just some chunks that I had broken up before. And I like to work a lot like Kelly Knickerbocker does, with having a lot of space on my pieces that is not covered in mosaic. So using that space can be a design element sort of thing. And so I start with this black substrate, and it may need to be cleaned up by the end of it, but right now it's in really good condition. And I have these 3 pieces that I'm thinking about where I'd want them to go. And then I'm thinking about actually kind of doing like what Margot does in her shag course, and just made a bunch of shards that are in these like long sticks kind of thing. And I thought I would show them how to do, how I'm going to start to put them in here. Has anybody ever created a pastry bag when they make mosaic with thin set? Yes, no, maybe, no. Do you guys want to see that? What that looks like? Yes. Okay. You guys are doing great so far. I can like see your faces, and it's going super well. I'm happy. Okay, so when you are going to work with thin set, which I've already pre-mixed my thin set right here, I have another empty little cup, and I have a little baggie. You can use this size, or you guys know what the snack size is. It's like half this size. If you're going to work small, then either one of those. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to open the bag and stick your finger in the corner of the bag, and then put your finger in the cup. And then you're going to wrap it over that cup. And it's really important that that corner go down in there, not any part of the baggie, that corner or the other corner, because you'll see in the end what that means. So now I'm going to take my mixed thin set, my black, and I'm just going to dump it right into that corner. Is the footage good, Jerry?
That's great.
Okay, good. Okay. And you want to try and work as clean as possible, always. So we got a little chunk here, but we can wipe that off. So now I'm going to pull this out, and you see how it's on the corner? Like that's the most important part, that you got it down into the corner. And now remove all the air, easy. And now you can either take a rubber band or tape, masking tape, whatever you have, and just like a halfer, like I did this earlier one, this is the other half of the masking tape, so you don't have to waste as much. Now the key is, what you want to do is you want to take that corner and meet it with the top corner, and then accordion. And other mosaic artists may have different ways of doing it, but this is sort of how I do it. And then this tape, what's really important is this kind of becomes your handle. So you want to like make it a little stiff like that. Does that make sense? So far, so good. Okay. So now I have my pastry bag, but I need to make a hole. And making the hole can be a really, important part. So don't go too big, because then you can't go backwards. You can always make it too small and then cut more. But starting at like, I don't know, it's between 1/8 and 1/4 inch is what I did. So now I have my pastry bag, and when I'm not using it, I just put it back in that cup and we're good to go. A lot of artists, Rachel Sager, Kelly Knickerbocker, they will use the pastry bag, and then they'll do what they call make a bed, where they'll make a bed of mortar. And you're going to see me do that in a minute. But right now, what I want to do is I'm going to actually place these 3 pieces down with my thin set and my mortar and my glass. So I'm going to squeeze some onto the glass, and I'm also going to squeeze some onto the substrate, because there's nothing more than thin set loves thin set or mortar. I kind of use them interchangeably. So put it back in there, and I'm going to spread this out just a little bit. Don't want it to squeeze out too far or at all right now. And now I'm going to put a little more there. Scratch that on, because you can do scratch coats as well. And now I'm just going to place it. And you always want to give a little bit of a jiggle to get it to sit and set into it. So I have a little bit of a squeeze out on either side. I'm okay with that. You guys see that? All right, so we'll do the other one on this side. And this color is so gorgeous. And it's always good when you're doing something like this to like use complementary colors. So the orange and the blue are really wonderful that way. Where's this gonna go? It's gonna go this way. So we'll just add a little scratch here. A little jiggle. And then I can adjust them if I want, like artistically, them a little different, but I have some ideas of how the shards are going to flow. And then when you're creating art, some of the elements you want to think about, like in, you know, your composition is to work in 3s or 5s, 1s, 3s, 5s, or 7s. If you've ever heard of that, that the odd number is more balanced actually in art. And you can observe that in a lot of, obviously any medium of art, you'll see that the odd number is usually how artists choose to work. So you can learn that, you know, from Rachel Sager's composition course. Kelly Knickerbocker does a lot of that. So I'm going to put this third piece down. And we're going to get that down, put a little bit onto the board. That. And now I can jiggle it. And tools in mosaic art, as you all know, are really important. And I find that these better ones, like these spatulas that we get at DeMosaico, are really, really amazing. And they're really good for when you are wanting to spread your mortar. They just really move very easily. This or like palette knives that you get at like just a regular art store. So now that I have the 3 down, I'm going to let that mortar set up a little bit more. And using this other bag I have here, because it's just a little bit looser, I am going to create a little bed right here. And never feel like your substrate has to stay straight up and down or whatever it is. Always feel like you can move it where you want to go and what is easier for you to work. And so with this type of kind of pokey things that I want to put down, I'm going to need quite the bed. So I'm going to make this bed a little bit thicker, and I can show you guys. I know it's really hard with the dark black on the black, but I'll go closer on the camera right now and you can see. You guys see that? It's pretty. Come on, camera. There it goes. Okay. So now taking my tweezers, and I like these little hook ones, I can start to play with putting my shards into my mosaic. And again, today is just a day of like creating, having fun, doing something that makes you feel good. And more importantly, I'm just here to really answer any of your questions. And then there's this other, oh, I wanted to show you guys this other material if you've never heard of it, called Litovi. Has anybody heard of Litovi? Can you see that? So Litovi is a man-made material that comes out of France. It does need to be broken on a hammer and a hardy, and with hammer and hardy, but once it does, you can get down to these little shards. But the difference with Litovi than with Smalty is the sheen. There's no sheen with the Litovi as there is. So I thought it'd be fun to bring in a few of these different sort of textured looking pieces and tessera. And that's another composition thing you think about when you're creating is texture. How can I make the texture make my piece look more interesting? So by doing that, someone's eye may be caught by looking at my piece and saying, oh, hey, wait, there was shiny and then there wasn't. And what did that piece do to the viewer? So those are the different things you can think about when you're creating. And this is not by any means any kind of ondimento or anything like that. This is really just having fun creating with some Italian smalty, Mexican smalty, and some Latovi. And you can also like shift these guys so they can lean in different directions. That's why your bed of thin set is so important. The more thicker your bed, the more stability these pieces in this sort of style will have. So does anyone have a question so far? And you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Nobody? You guys all just have
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the Latovi today to order some. Is it, I just bought a Hammer and Hardy, so I'm still learning how to do things. But is the Latovi fairly easy to cut with the Hammer and Hardy?
I wouldn't go with the word fairly easy, but I would go with, if you're working with a Hammer and Hardy and you know how to cut on a Hammer and Hardy, the first couple pieces are gonna break with some, here, let me show you. Yeah. So can you see when I smashed it, you get a few of the like white things from the hammer hitting so many times. But once I got it chopped down, you get it, you can, so yeah, when I was prepping this, it started a size, this size, and I got it down, well, to that size, these guys. But yeah, it's definitely works. It's just, don't be afraid if you got to hit it quite a few times. And is your Hardy on a table or into wood?
I have the tabletop.
Yeah, so make sure that the problem with tabletop Hardys, you just have to be really careful, is that the more the table can move, the less your stuff's going to cut, especially something like this. So either put it on like a block, like a stump, like a wood stump that doesn't have to have a hole in it because you bought a tabletop, but do you know what I mean? That it's really not going to give like a table would give, or a very strong wooden table, work table you could use. But if it's just like a fiberglass table or a desk, then don't try and cut this with your tabletop Hardy that way. Did that make sense?
Yes, use like a concrete scoop or something.
I just stabbed myself with some glass.
You could put it on over the leg of the table.
Or yeah, Jerry's saying you could put it on the leg of the table and that may give it a little more, it just can't have the reverberation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Latovi is a great material if you want that matte sort of look. And Annabella Weber uses it in a lot of her work. So I love it. And it comes in lots of colors. And again, it comes from Wits End. So easy to get, but it comes from France. So it's kind of fancy like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you spell that for me?
Yeah, Litovi.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, let me just apply the Band-Aid where I was in Mexico for 2 weeks. I never cut myself. I come home, I cut myself.
Is this on wireless?
I don't know. Yes, it is. All right, so here we are. Does anybody work in this kind of like sort of fashion of using substrates and, you know, design, having the space as your design, or what kind of mosaics are you guys creating?
Well, I'm loving Kelly Knickerbocker's course about Mind the Gap. So I'm doing that kind of stuff, and I'm doing the Venn diagram, and I'm trying to see what kind of tesserae to use. And I'm thinking of the Latovi, what you're just doing with the small thin Latovi. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, the Latovi is a great choice for the Venn. That's an excellent choice. And it'll give you color. And then if you're using it with marble or stone, you won't have anything shiny because you'll have color without shiny. And that's kind of what the beauty of Latovi is people that want to work in matte can do it without having the bright color, the bright glossiness of glass. You know, a lot of, we have another course of Kelly's coming out soon where you'll see how she manipulates her different kinds of tessera to make them look more matte. And that'll be coming out in the next month or two.
Minnie's asking if he could use regular nippers.
For Latovi, I used, when I got it broke, you can't start with this without a hammer and a hardy. But once I got it down to this size, I think I can, these are just tile nippers, you know, regular ceramic tile nippers. And no, you still have to get it down. You'd have to get it down to a pretty far size. This one, I could probably cut with these. Maybe not.
I have compound nippers.
I have compound nippers too. I could go get out, and those might work. I just used the hammer and a hardy.
Okay.
But once they get to this size, you can use the nippers. I don't know.
Don't fear the hardy.
Don't fear the hardy. So that you can break, but obviously that's not very thick. So don't fear the hardy, as Jerry says. Just so you all know, a little backstory. Jerry is a PhD in chemistry. And I wanted to go to Belgium to study with Dino Maccini, who's an Italian mosaic artist, maybe you've heard of. And he was being hosted in Belgium by Murray Swinnon. And Jerry likes to drink beer, and he's a beer maker. So we went to Belgium to drink beer. But then I said, what are you going to do while I have my mosaic workshop? He was for 5 days from 9 to 5. And Jerry said, well, why don't I take the workshop? And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? You've never made a mosaic. He's never as much as lifted up. He lifts up my tools and he looks at them. He's like, huh, what does that do? But he never picks up a piece of glass and tries to break it. And he knows a little bit just because he's hung out with me for a few years now. But Murray said, I think he will surprise us. Yes, he can take the workshop. And Jerry's first mosaic is one of the best mosaics I've ever seen. And it was all taught on hammer and hardy. For a first timer. Yes, we'll put that clause in. But Jerry has only learned how to work on a hammer and a hardy. Wow. So it's pretty hilarious that I have 20 years experience and now he knows as much about andamento as I do. And he learned from the Italian master the first time. So it's, you know, the hammer and the hardy, I think, does scare people, and it shouldn't. It's really a very wonderful tool to have in your arsenal, and it can open your world. You can't believe that when you are, I mean, I cut all these with nippers just because I was working at the table and my hardy's way over there. But when you do cut smalty or marble and stone with a hardy, it's just, it's magical, the difference you see in the way the cuts happen. So is everyone enjoying this so far?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good.
How long is, what's the working time on the thin set?
Working time on thin set is about an hour and a half at the most. And then when you put it in the baggie like I did, it can last a little bit longer. So I don't recommend, if it starts to get hot or hard, then you just want to replace it. And someone was asking about a silver tray, of making a mosaic on a silver tray. Who was that? Regine, that's right. So working on metal, I recommend using a silicone-based adhesive, and either this one or GE silicone is excellent, because you definitely need something that's going to grip and hold a glossy sort of texture. And you do not need to do, I do not recommend that you wrap it in the mesh and the thin set. Metal, thin set it likes porosity. It likes to go to soak into something. And if it's not going to soak into something like glass, like I'm doing right now, it needs to be a high quality thin set that's made for glass, which this is Laticrete 254, that Laticrete titanium, no, platinum 254, which is for glass, or you want to get the Mapei glass and tile adhesive, it's called, or P10. They're changing their names. And then if you all are starting to follow Kelly Knickerbocker more and did the Mastering the Mud online course, the Admix will just, if I ran out of Admix, I ran out of Mapei thin set. So I couldn't use my CareApply, my Mapei admix that I have here. So you can't mix the two. So for right now, this is water, but if I were doing a commission or this was for something more important than just in my home, I would have used admix, because then I know these are very exposed. They're very vulnerable, even though they're in a bed of thin set. So that's really what that admix is about. It's about having just that much more strength and that much more. It's a polymer, acrylic polymer. So it's an acrylic polymer, and that really gives it that extra gluey strength, if that's the right terminology to kind of say. So
Very technical term.
what is the gluey? It's a technical term. So so if you are going to start shopping for mortar, and you want to start doing things like this, then I would recommend the Mapei, because it's easier to get that admix than it is to get the Laticrete. Laticrete is a little more, I've looked at their website, and they offer so many more different types of mortar as well. So if you're going to just use water and you can only get Laticrete, that's fine. But if you can get the Mapei, and I don't know if you all know what Floor and Decor is, but I kind of use that website a lot. If you're not close to a Lowe's that has both of these products I'm talking about that are Mapei. Does that all make sense to everybody?
What was the name again?
Yeah, so there are a couple questions.
What was the name?
Very messy. Silicone, it doesn't have to be messy. This is not, first of all, this is not normal. Silicone, yes, comes out more like gummy. This comes out more like this, and it dries clear. So it comes out white, but this dries clear. And so when you put it on like a piece of tessera, it's really not, it doesn't have to be as messy, because it won't stick on your fingers. I'm getting a baby wipe out. 85 of them are coming out at once. So this just comes right off your fingers, and you aren't left with that GE silicone. So I know what you're talking about, Minnie.
So it's a wet wipe?
So this is just, yeah, your basic, wet wipes from Costco. So this looks like this, and then this is the best way that you can, Regine, this is what I would do for your silver. And this is the brand you guys are seeing, the DAP Quick Seal, is great. This is Plus, because that's all they had at the store. It's $1 more. You can get it where the packaging is bright red, not rust, and doesn't say Plus. And it's the same product for what we're using. This is because this is truly a kitchen and bathroom caulking. They have a little extra in it called Mold Guard. We don't need that, but I was in a pinch and I needed the clear. So I got what they had. So does that all make sense? So this Laurel True, many of us, that if we're not going to use thin set, this is our go-to for adhesive that I'll use, if I'm doing smaller projects, but if I'm going to have my thin set obviously exposed, or I'm going to do this type of mind the gap, like we're talking about with Kelly, then this is what you want, is your thin set to show up. Floor and Decor.
Can I ask one last question? Is it okay for the outdoor? It will sustain the outdoor?
Yes, because it is a waterproof product. So and this is good. So if you're going to grout, this is a great product, because you're never going to see, what's underneath your tile. You're not grouting what I'm creating. So I need to use this pretty thin set, and I could go with different colors. We can tint the thin set and use different colors, but most importantly, when you're using this, it's great if you're going to grout your pieces. Now, if you're going to use something like a ceramic tile, you might want to just use thin set, whatever color it comes in, because ceramic tile really likes to grab on to thin set. But if you're going to use your porcelain, what am I trying to say? Your crockery, and you're going to grout it, then this is fine. And just make sure it cures for 24 hours before you grout, so all the air can get there and really make this tough. And you're always welcome. I mean, I don't highly recommend it, but if you're ever doing a commission and you're just concerned because you've never used it before, glue a couple pieces down on a sample board somewhere first, and then try and tear them off of your substrate. And that is an awesome way to learn if this is a good idea or not, or good, adhesive or not.
Yeah.
And you guys have the adhesives course that I did in your collection, so you're always welcome to refer back to that. But I learned the hard way on many commissions back in the very early 2001 of what works and what doesn't work. And someone had asked about mastic, and I know David Jarvinen uses mastic a lot for his pieces, and he tints it. And from what I understand, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but if you do know who Isaiah Zagar is, that he did a lot of work on walls in Philadelphia. And I think I've been told he used literally mastic to put up a lot of his tiles. And to me, that sounds ludicrous, but I don't know. He did it, way back in the day. So
It works.
yeah, mastic is a tile adhesive, and David Jarvinen does have a contractor's license. He was a tile contractor before he became a mosaic artist. So, I do trust that he knows his products. I want to show you guys a little tip. So if you're creating this way, you see this big bump of thin set right here. If I were to walk away from this mosaic right now and say, oh, I'm going to work on it tomorrow, and I left that big bump there, that's going to change this whole mosaic, because I will not be able to get a piece close enough to make this continuity look good. And if I did try to tear it out, I would cause, even more damage probably to the piece. So I'm going to continue a little bit longer. Are you guys all good so far? Everyone's enjoying themselves? Okay, great.
Did you get the question about why you're standing up the pieces instead of laying them down?
Why am I standing up these? It's a design choice. This is totally just having fun, creating a piece that I just think it looks fun to have texture in this sort of style. So there is no other answer than I'm an artist and I want to make art.
And Mary asked about Go Board at Wits End.
Oh yeah, Go Board. We never learned if they fixed it. So Go Board is a waterproof substrate, much like Wetty Board is, but Go Board is made with a fiberglass on top instead of cement like Wetty Board does. And I used Go Board when I was going to one of my Mexico retreats a few years ago, and I bought large sheets of it. And when I went to cut them, because I have to make big long strips and then cut into 12 by 12s, I ended up with one of the worst fiberglass rashes on my arms that took like 2 days to go away. So I learned, I didn't know. And then when I went back to the tile store and told the guys what happened, they said they were surprised that I bought the Go Board because they knew what I was going to do, but because I have a relationship with my tile stores. So I'm not a fan of Go Board. I'll use it because this is how they send the easy frames. But Wits End is now selling Wetty Board in sheets, different size sheets if you want to get that. I'm just more of a fan of Wetty Board. It's sort of what I've grown up on since we got rid of Hardy Backer. And so it's just and I love that you can cut it with a jigsaw really easily and make shapes. And then I don't mind wrapping it with the alkali resistant fiberglass mesh and putting the thin set on it. It's just kind of the only two ways I make substrates is Wetty Board with alkali resistant fiberglass mesh, or I make my own substrates with mesh and thin set. They tend to have more Laticrete products than Home Depot or Lowe's, and also better Mapei. With Floor and Decor, they tend to have more. Oh, well, I know Floor and Decor carries a ton of Mapei products too. So you should be able, unless they're different in different locations, but I know Lowe's and Floor and Decor are great to get Mapei products. So.
What are the considerations on substrate for outdoor installations?
Considerations for outdoor installations, probably just the two that I just said. I mean, I'll have all of you know that you would never use wood outside. So wood, I'll tell you a little story. In 2000 or 2001, I had just named my business and I made a 48-inch diameter of a table that someone commissioned me to make, all in China. and it was going to be just installed into their vintage table frame. So it had to be perfect as far as the size. And I made it on 1/4 inch plywood. Yeah, shake your head a little more. So I finished the whole thing, and this was in my studio in LA when I was still working in the movies. And I went to lift it up and take it to the backyard because that's where I was going to grout it before I delivered it. And then I'd only have to grout the seam where it sat into this table frame. And when I lifted it up to take it to the backyard, it folded in half. And it did that because of all the moisture in the thin set. And so thank God it happened to me on my time versus on the client's time when it would have completely fallen apart. So I had to remake the whole thing, which meant I had to take all of that china off. I had to clean it and, you know, restore as much of it as I could. And that's when I learned about HardieBacker, because Weddy board didn't even exist as far as I know. And so that's, you know, how I kind of learned before I got better at doing this. So don't use wood. So for exterior grade mosaics, I recommend Weddy board, Go board. If you're going to use it, just be careful, and making your own substrates with thin set and mesh. And you can use the alkali resistant fiberglass mesh. And the reason we always say that is because there is alkali in thin set mortar. And if you don't use the alkali resistant mesh, you stand the chance of the thin set degrading the mesh. So my last commission that I did, which is a little over a year ago, again, 48-inch diameter, and it's the letter B that went into someone's home as they walked in their front door. It's on the floor. And I made it by creating my own substrate with, I think it was 3 or 4 layers of mesh and mortar, and that was it. And I consulted a tile contractor if that was the best way to create the substrate for the type of installation where it had to be floated because it had to meet the exact same level as the field tile that it was going to be surrounded by. Does that all make sense? Yeah. So that one is doing fine a year and change later, and I epoxy grouted it. So most of my commissions are epoxy grout. And if you saw my live where we did the tour of the 2 homes in Santa Barbara, where I have my 9 commissions, 9 of my commissions, you can see that that's what I pretty much do from most of my work. And it feels good to know that with my installations, everything that I have installed is still in as great condition as it was the day I delivered it. So that's the kind of information that I want to be able to share with all of you.
Tammy,
Alkali resistant tape.
I have a question.
Yes.
Again. You answered it, but I just want to make sure I understood well. When I want to do, I got your course on the vertical composition, and if I want to make an outdoor, I have a bench which has the seat part and the back part, and I think it is in wood. So you said that if I do the Weddy board, instead of putting it with water, I should do a special, non-water type of
Is that the admix you're talking about to
Yeah.
go with the thin set?
yes.
But you're talking about still mosaicing onto wood?
Well, the bench, I believe, is wood and it's outdoor, and I would like to make a mosaic there. So,
What you should do is get a piece of Weddy board and screw it or glue it onto the wood.
Yes.
And then you should mosaic on the Weddy board. And yes, then you can use the tile. I mean, you can use the mortar and the admix together.
And the admix, it cannot be a regular, okay.
Admix replaces water.
Okay.
And yeah, so if you haven't, I mean, if you want to buy the Mastering Mud, Kelly Knickerbocker's Mastering Mud course is invaluable for going into using thin set or mortar. It's the same word. It's just we interchange it. So Mary, I hear your pain. Yes. So are you talking about the 2-inch tape, or are you talking about the big bolts of the mesh?
A 2-inch tape.
Yeah, so when you use, I don't have any in here right now. So when you use the 2-inch tape, like when I just built 11 substrates to take to Mexico a few weeks ago, and you have to work kind of fast. And so you can't cover the whole thing up and then go and add your mortar to it. You have to work in sections, because yes, the tape will release itself over a certain period of time, which is not long. And we always have to remember that the materials we're using are not designed to be used the way we really use them. So that mesh tape is designed to go down the seam between 2 pieces of drywall. So if you just want to put it flat against 2 pieces of drywall, it's probably not going to pop off. But now you're trying to bend it and mold it and make it go places that it's not truly designed to do. So you have to always consider that with a lot of the materials that we choose to use as artists, including when you have to buy a 50-pound bag of the mortar and you're not going to get through it in a year, and you hear all of us say that the stuff expires in a year or so. So, and if you didn't know that, that's true too. So mortar does expire in a year. And if you're doing small projects and you're at home and it's for yourself, I'm not going to tell you go throw it out at the 1-year anniversary, but I'm going to tell you I wouldn't hold on to it for 2 years, because the integrity of it could deplete. And so, yeah, even if you work in cutting it in thinner strips, the best thing you can do is just work in small sections, have your thin set ready, and just cover it, and then go on to another area, tape, thin set, tape, thin set. And that's the same way that Sherry Warner Hunter teaches, her large scale concrete. That's how Catherine England teaches it. You can't cover a whole thing and expect it to all stay stuck, even because I have both the tape and I have this stuff. So either one, we have to use it. We have to use it in that sort of process. Can maybe use tacks to hold down the critical spots. Yeah, you can. If it's styrofoam, we've done that, where if we're working in polystyrene, then we can sometimes put some tacks down. If you've taken Karen Kingsbury's course, then you see that she does a little bit of that with the head planter. But if you're going to cover this whole, it sounds like a 3D monarch caterpillar, and try and do it, you have to yeah, that's what you have to do, is really try and just do it in small sections. Does anyone else have any questions? I just thought I'd come say hi to all y'all. No? What kind of projects are you guys working on right now? Like, is it for your homes? Is anybody doing commissions? Or is this more just you're learning? Where are some of you in your process? Don't be shy. Carol, tell me.
I'm really learning, but I have been doing for my cottage garden the 12-inch concrete stepping stones and mosaic on those. And then I also did some mosaics on stones, flat stones. I did hearts and decorative things.
And what type of grout are you using?
I used a sanded grout.
Great.
On the stepping stones.
And are the stepping stones flush, or is it above are you going on top of the stepping stone?
I'm going on top of the stepping stone. So it's a 12 by 12 image. But they're not all totally flat, because it's just, one step in a big garden.
No, and are you using stained glass or tile? What's your tessera?
Mostly tiles. And I've done some little gemstone stones, just a variety. I did a butterfly that had a lot of the gemstone stones in it.
Nice. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Martha, did you want to share? Yes, no.
I'll share.
Okay, who wants to share? Go ahead, Molly.
is Molly in Albuquerque. I started 2 years ago with my first attempt at mosaic. And I started on a wall that's about 90 feet long, lineal. And so I'm 2 years in and about a third of the way. And all of the tiles are handmade ceramic. So, and then
Wow.
during the winter, I couldn't work on installing outside because it was too cold. So I've been working on, learning glass on glass.
And so the tiles that you're using are all handmade.
Yes,
And
I'm making the tile.
you're making them?
Yes.
Oh,
I invite friends and family come on Sunday afternoon sometimes before COVID. And so I have sort of the DNA of my close loved ones in the wall of all ages from 5 to 95. So it's been very, very fun. Like,
do you have a kiln?
I do now. I had to get one during COVID because New Mexico Clay closed their firing services, and that forced me to splurge and get all the 220 that I needed and buy a kiln. So I'm thrilled because now I can fire whenever I want.
Are you firing at a pretty high temperature to make sure that the tiles can survive the freeze thaw?
Yes, I am. I'm firing at cone 6
Awesome.
clay and using a sanded grout. And the woman who helped me figure out how to go about this has done an installation on the entire outside of the convention center in Albuquerque. And it's been up for 19 years so far plus. So I'm sure that it will last. She said she has a 200-year plan. So
that's the best kind, you want it to last. One of my students from my retreat just last week in Mexico is from Albuquerque. And yeah, they're really cool people. So maybe you guys can start some small group together.
There is a Mosaics New Mexico group, so maybe we know each other through that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Who else is working on projects?
Oh, I can speak now.
There you are.
Yes, I got my mudding off. So I'm mainly working in stained glass because I'm very new. So I'm doing a lot of projects with that. I think one of the things I've also taken the Annabella Lures course on Andamento. And I think where I kind of am confused at the moment is if I'm looking at something of my own, like a photo of my own, I want to create into a mosaic. I kind of think, well, how do I decide whether I want to put Andamento and like the actual rules of Andamento, or just do something like you're doing now, which is very creative.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to make the decision.
Well, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for the Andamento, and I think the best thing to do with Andamento when you want to learn the lines is to just make lines. Don't try and put it into an image, because I think that's where people get really, caught up that they're supposed to do Andamento, but they want to make, when Carol Shelkin makes a portrait or a tree or whatever, there is no true Andamento in that at all. So she does beautiful image work without Andamento, as does Mary Driver. And, I could go on, but if you want to learn, like, if you just want to study what Annabella teaches in her course, then just make lines and just study her work and study Dino's work and some of the Italians, just to study how the lines are made, and just make your pieces, what she teaches, and just study it that way. Because for me, I studied with Dino and Annabella, Murray, I want to say another one, and it took 3 teachers. It wasn't until Annabella that I actually, it clicked for me how to really work in Andamento. Some people like Jerry and Annabella, they're very linear thinking people, so they can just make lines with their eyes closed all day long. They really just get it that way. And it's a very, I think, left brain, if there's such a thing, kind of thing, where I'm more right brain and I look more like that painting in my brain, and Jerry doesn't. Neither does Annabella. So I think you should just practice lines and follow that, and don't try and merge the two right now. That would be my advice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. I love this. Now we got some questions going. That's where you guys get to learn. This is Lisa, you asked about how to make it not splash everywhere. Get a, the condiment things that you like, old mustard and ketchup condiment things. You can get them at, we have like what's called a Smart and Final here. And you just pour it into that, and then you can squeeze it out, squirt it out at a much easier way. Than I know they come in these, again, they come in these 2-gallon buckets, and you're supposed to like, you know, be making it for your little 12 by 12. And how do you make it work? And the construction guy's like, I need to pour it into a bucket, you know? So that's sort of how we have to manipulate the materials to work for us. But yeah, if you get those plastic condiment bottles at any store, grocery stores sell them. And then you can use a funnel, pour it in, and then you'll be able to control it much easier. Same with water. If you're using water for grout or water for anything else, the same thing. You can use those things because they can control it a lot easier. What other questions? Laticrete already has a kind of admix in it. Yeah, they do. Oh, that's you. Oh, they do. And so you can, you know, get that one as well. And some artists do it that way, but Kelly's a fan of Mapei. And the other thing that's good about Mapei is you can buy smaller bags. It comes in 25-pound bags, which is pretty awesome. So Jeannie, didn't you have a question? No, you ordered tints today. Your tints left today. They're on
Okay,
there.
great. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? What are you going to make with the tints?
I don't know yet. You know, I just retired this year, and so I'm
Congratulations.
studying mosaics for the first time, and I've made a little patio table. And so now I'm just kind of stocking up so that I have what I need when I get there.
Awesome. And if you are interested in learning more about them, Aaron Pankratz's 2 courses will blow your mind when it comes to using those tints. She's the reason we did decide to sell the tints, is so that we could, she curated the choices of colors and everything that we sell. I'm not interested in having like a huge selection of these things. If you need more colors and other things, you can go to Sherry Warner Hunter's website. But if you want just the ones we sell, then I'm happy to continue doing that.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Stephanie, what are you working on right now?
I just finished a, I don't know what it, did you hear of Laurel Sky? She wrote a book years ago.
Yes, of course.
Yes, and that's what got me interested in mosaics. So after 2 years, I finally was able to do something in her style. So that was very exciting. I moved my head. You can
I see it. I see it. Yeah. Laurel was known, she passed away a few years ago, but she was known for doing what she called her tapestry work. So if you can imagine like a tapestry rug, but done in mosaic, and you can always look her up. She did her entire house, which was in Arcata, California, like right at the border of Oregon. And she did her entire house in mosaic. It was, I wish I would have gotten there. She was supposed to come here and teach, and she got sick. So we missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
So Robin, what are you working on?
Well, I'm really sort of all over the map. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and I'm in St. Louis, and there's just nowhere in St. Louis to get good instruction. So I'm really excited about your website. And you know, I've traveled, like I traveled for Donna's Color Freedom pet portraits, which was really, really fun, but it's very expensive to do. So you have to limit it. And so I really have just done trial and error sorts of things, you know, like you were talking about the silver tray thing earlier. And I made a silver tray with a spode plate that I cut up, and it turned out fabulous. But I used weld bond because I thought that weld bond was like the gold standard of mosaics. And you know, it's still, everything still sticks. I don't, you know, who knows how it's going to do in the future, but I'm just so excited to have this opportunity to learn. And I've done things with stained glass and broken plates. I paid a couple $100 to this woman who did mosaics and wasn't going to do it anymore. And I wound up getting this huge stash of glass and a hammer and a hardy and tile cutters and a basket full of 12-inch slabs of marble and some stone. And I don't really know what to do with it. I'm just, when I look at it all, I'm just overwhelmed. And so I'm just trying to learn. And it's funny, before your husband said, don't fear the hardy. Well, I kind of fear the hardy. So that's me.
That's awesome. And you'll eventually need the hardy when you want to break down those 12-inch slabs of marble.
Exactly.
You also shouldn't be afraid. You guys shouldn't be afraid of weld bond. And weld bond does serve its purpose. Donna Van Hoosier swears by it. Carol Shelkin swears by it. Those are two incredibly accomplished mosaic artists. But there is a little rift that goes on in our community between the mortar lovers and the weld bond lovers and all of those of us in between. So if weld bond is working, it's not a bad product at all. It's been around for a very long time. It's a very strong PVA glue, basically. And many people, by Molly, many people have used it over the years, and it is only for interior. Don't ever use it for an exterior product. So are you guys still learning and enjoying it? I know we're hitting 3 o'clock, but if you guys want to share more of like what you're creating, then please do. I'm happy to stay on a little longer. So Regine?
I am not as creative as the rest of the group. I must admit, I do a lot of Pinterest, and I get a lot of inspiration from that website. And no, I make things like, oh, I have it right here. You know, this, I don't know if you can
Oh
see.
yeah, nice.
I do that. I do a lot of tabletops with ceramic, and I got wet tile. So, and I'm just, I mean, your classes are amazing. I am so lucky that, I mean, I just started in January or February, and I feel so lucky that I started off so well with you.
Aw,
No, really. I mean, it's I didn't have to the trial and error. It was very clear, your recommendation, and no, it's so I'm just enjoying it. But I'm not an artist. I just have fun and copying a lot from what I see and from your website. And no, it's great. It's great.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thank you. Lisa, what are you creating these days? I've seen you on line a bit.
Well, actually, I've been covering a bunch of statues that I had purchased myself, because I didn't really know how to grout that. It was hard enough to put the tesserae on. And I've taken classes from Angie Heinrich before. So I have some beading stuff going on. And I just took the Catherine English class recently. So I'm beading. And I'm like, I don't know if beading with seed beads is my thing, but I need to finish the project before I can move on.
Right.
So, and I had taken mosaic classes a long time ago from Laurel True up at True Mosaics. And so I bought a bunch of stuff, which I never got around to because my kid took up all my time. And so I want to get through those projects first before I start doing other things.
Well, that's
so
good.
I keep taking all these things to learn more.
That's great. I think it's important to finish projects if you can, because the ones that hang over you really, like spiritually, I believe, hang over you until you complete them. Having lots of undone can put like pressure on you. So finish what you're doing and then feel like you're starting something new. That's how I feel. That's how I have to work. I can't have unfinished projects around. So Mary Dokes, what are you working on now?
Different things. I have someone said that they had a lot of different tesserae that they got from someone, and I seem to have before I really found what I like to work with, I just have a lot of stuff that I feel like I have to use because I have it, but I don't like it, so I just did I watched your tinting thinset yesterday. And this is what I did yesterday with small tea, which I really enjoyed working with.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it was really, it's the first time that I didn't, spend a lot of time cutting something. And it was like, it was really fun. It was just, it was a lot of fun. It's probably the most fun thing because a lot of times you spend a lot of time on a project. And I've been doing this for maybe 2.5 years. And I design my own projects, which I don't always start with a real drawing. And I'm not an artist. I didn't come from that background, but I wanted to do a tree. And it's like, how do I draw a tree? I don't know how to draw a tree. And so it's a lot of my stuff is trial and error. And sometime I'll get around to posting what I've done on, but I have to get around to figuring out how to post it on the website. But I really enjoy mosaics, and it's something that I wanted to do for a really long time. So once I retired and the kids are gone, and so I've been doing it for about 2.5 years, but a lot of it was trial and error. I worked with some other people. It's finding the right materials, which you like to work with, what really cuts easily and well, because the frustrating thing is when it doesn't cut, it just takes so much time. So, small tea I really do like a lot. I have to get more of that, and I have to know it's okay just to get rid of the stuff that I'm not going to use.
100%. Yes.
But
And
it's hard to do that. Yeah.
I think it's more important that as you start to make things you like to look at and your eye catches it and you said, I made that will start to spark more. So it's letting go of the things that, I worked in stained glass for so many years, creating the commissions, the mermaid and all the other ones that I did. And if I don't have to pick up another piece of stained glass, I'll be the happiest girl ever. Like, I did my time. I loved it. I'm good at it, but I am so into the small tea. And you'll see, I am going to start creating a piece that is for our home when we do more of these creating times together. We just got home from Mexico, so I hadn't had a chance to get it together. But I love finding found objects. We go out to the desert a lot near Death Valley. And we go to abandoned mines and different things like that are not directly in Death Valley. And I find like old glass, and I found like the bottom of a shoe that's probably from the 40s and, rusty things. And that's the kind of stuff I love to work in. And so that's going to become a big diptych probably for our dining room area. And so I'm going to start working in that. So I find the things that I love, and it's the small tea, it's the found objects, it's some stones and things like that, the Latovi. So you got materials have to fire you up. Watercolor artists, it's always going to be watercolors. Acrylics, it's always going to be acrylics. For us, there's so many choices. And as we all know, mosaics has kind of had the doors blown off of it as far as materials and traditional. It's contemporary now. It can really be so many different things. So you got to get excited about what you do like and let go of what you don't, and don't feel like you have to do a certain kind.
Right. Because I find I did, like a tree, it has to look like a tree. It's like I'm definitely more abstract than realistic.
Well, then that's what you learn.
Yeah. Because it's just, it can't look like something. I've tried to do other, birds of paradise, love them, but I'm not going to make one.
That's okay.
So,
take a picture.
So I've learned things. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So thanks.
Thank you. Miss Karen. Karen is the only one in this group, I think, that has been to Santa Barbara. And Karen just retired from being a teacher for I don't know how many years. This is a big, big, big deal. I'm so happy for you.
Actually, I was the principal. So
I mean, a principal.
32 years. Okay.
Deal.
Thank
deal.
you.
So
well, I'm going to show you this piece. I'm so glad you mentioned about starting projects and have it hanging over your head. So after I took Carol's course, I went out on a limb and did this on my own at home. And so I started this, I want to say 2012 or something.
I believe it.
It was a while.
I believe it.
Yeah, so anyway, so I finally finished it this year, right before I retired. I retired in January. And now people are asking me to make tabletops or mosaic on the table. And I keep telling them, you cannot bring me a piece of wood and say, do it on this, because you're going to put it outside.
Right.
So I had a question in the chat. When people have, where do you get those mosaic table kits?
I'll talk to you because you can drive up here, and if my guy is still making them, I'll talk to you offline about if he can make them for you, then you can go that direction. Because I only know this one guy in Santa Barbara that made them for me when I was teaching live those core classes. But outside of that, I think online you can get them, but they're probably gonna be cheap and rinky. So you need to find a wrought iron or an iron custom that can make them for you. In LA, you probably could find somebody easier than up here, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, because I was wondering what kind of person, like a welder?
And then you need a welder or an iron welder. And then you probably want to use a wetty board, like the 1/4-inch wetty board as your substrate. And then that way it can last outside for a long time. And then you can do whatever tessera you want on top. I did one years ago that still sits outside that people love. That's just funky tile. It's not meant to like have your coffee cup on it because it's got a lot of china. And then I adhered a teacup onto the table. And you have no idea how many people like thought it was to be lifted up. And so it's fun stuff to do. So yes.
I'm so glad that
so glad you're here.
Yes.
Thank you. And Minnie, what are you working on? I saw some of your stuff online on foundations and fundamentals.
Yes. Well, first of all, for those of you that don't know me, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and here I haven't found anyone that does mosaics that I can, ask for help or anything. So having your class, Tammy, has really been a lifesaver. I love it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I am the type of, I love bright colors. That's what motivates me. So right now I'm working on a piece for myself to put outdoors. It's a I think 48 inch, and it's the houses that you saw on there. And I've been using thin set and I've been using silicone. It's a mess in there right now. But I'm working on Curdy board. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Curdy board is good too.
Yeah, I'm using that, and I love to work with ceramic and glass tile, and I'm starting to dabble into crockery. But that's very difficult to break, and I'm not liking that part of it, but I would like to start to create using that,
right?
At least temporary. So that's pretty much it. So I'm just working on one product, and I started back in the beginning of the pandemic. That was a lifesaver for me because it kept me sane.
Yep.
I felt like I was losing my mind in the beginning, and that just helped me to keep focus and have something to do. So I think I've been doing it for about a year now, year and a half.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. Mary Giles. Is it Giles or Giles? I don't see her.
Gillis, but
Gillis, sorry.
I'm not going to get picky about it.
Okay. Thank you. You don't know how many ways my name's been called.
Yeah, well, I can tell that I'm not a millennial because I like freak out at Starbucks when they ask me how to spell Mary. And this has happened more times than you think. And like I kind of get to be one with my inner bitch, and I go Mary with a silent Z. But so I'm doing the first 3D because someone asked me about doing one, and I watched a few tutorials, and I went, oh, I can try this. Yeah, I'll do it. But it's not using so much as far as ideas that I'm not familiar with. I have done fused glass work for probably 12, 15 years, and started learning mosaic a couple years ago, maybe 2 or so. Went and took a class from Gary Drossel on mosaics and things like this, mostly because there's a part of town that reminds me of sort of Cold War East Germany. It's really ugly, and I've wanted to get a public community art project going on there, and decided that mosaics is probably the most appropriate medium for that location. So for about 2.5 years, I've been going back and forth with the city about getting permission to do that. And now I've got the local community groups and Arts Alliance and high school teachers who are ready to do that. And that I'm looking at trying to do. The first one is a 72-foot long kind of wave where the inset pieces are butterflies that are made by like an individual high school student or maybe a family, and where the outside wave part of it is made at the locals farmers market. So I've been Zooming with a private high school for the last year, prototyping like what are the ways that these students can learn to mosaic quickly enough in a way that it works. And so they're actually making them. Like I will do this again tomorrow with them. And partially to learn that, I started last year going down and volunteering with Kathleen Crocetti on her large mosaic garage pieces in the parking garage in Watsonville, where these 25-foot by 65-foot ceramic mosaics.
So you're working large scale and you're in California doing this stuff.
Yeah, I'm up in the Berkeley area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So did you learn from Gary at IMA, or where did you learn from Gary?
In Chicago.
Oh, you went to Chicago Mosaic School. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Those are, yeah, that's some fun, ambitious stuff that you're getting into.
So I think so I've spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out materials, and the trick is that, I'm looking at trying to put the 72-foot long mosaic that will be in 8-foot sections on the side of a pedestrian walkway that's a bridge. And the city will require that it has to be removable.
Yikes.
Well, so what I have decided on is 1/2-inch go board, where you use like the wetty type washers and thin set in there, and actually attached with concrete screws. And so you can, and then what I've just decided on for edging, to use this Schluter Sheen Radius. It's a tile product that you can make curves out of, and to use that for kind of framing and edging.
I've used Schluter like once or twice. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's so, it's made to like go on a wall and kind of be bolted to a wall, like a shower or something, because it has a very thin sort of fabric-y like texture to it. And that's, again, it goes back to why I love Wetty Board so much. And, but, with that said, Schluter got the waterproof properties in it.
So it's not the substrate, it's the Schluter, it's the edging that you can use to finish off, like if you're making a transition from a floor to wood to tile or whatever, but they have a particular one that you can curve, and to use that as like the outer frame on the go board.
Well, I wouldn't, that'd probably be more technical than we're going to get into today. So I wouldn't know how to guide you on that. And Kathleen up there in Watsonville's pretty proficient in her, exterior installations. But
but I mean, that I think I've probably spent, a year and a half figuring out materials.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we got to move on. We have 2 more people because I know everyone's starting to fall off. It's getting late. So Ms. Mahler, what does SL stand for? Because I'm not seeing the first name and I don't know.
Oh, it's just Lisa.
It's Lisa. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good. What are you working on?
I'm just about to start a layered mosaic of a galaxy. And I'm really intimidated about choosing the colors and the layering. So I'm kind of scared.
Be scared and do it anyway.
Yeah, really, it's pretty big, and I've never done a layered one before. So,
and did you take Yulia's online course to learn?
yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So the best thing you can do is just let her guide you, go back to the same sections over and over and over again, and just slowly you'll figure out how to do that base glass and then how to add the different layers on top, and just don't cut yourself too much.
I'll try not to. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm excited to see
Thank
what you
you.
create, and post it in Foundations and Fundamentals. All you guys post your work, your working, your WIPs, your work in progress, and your completed. And Roxanne, you're our last one. What are you working on? Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry.
There you are.
Okay, here I am. I'm in my kitchen. Yeah, so I primarily sell online right now. So I'm kind of forced into those things, the mirrors that I make. And so my free time is learning how to do all the things that you're teaching here, which is really wonderful. So I signed up for like 3 or 4 classes, and I don't think I finished any of them. I keep bouncing around. I have a little bit of time and I start one and I go, oh, that looks interesting. So, and then I hop to another one. And so focus is a difficult thing for me, but I started a piece to put it outside. So I just wanted to learn how to work with the mesh, and it's something I've never done before, or the thin set. And I'm about halfway done. And what you see posted online on the FNF is as far as I've gotten, because I had to set it aside. I have a mirror that I had to make for a customer, so I had to stop that. And so I'm ready to keep going on it. That piece will be done, and then you know, it's just being till I make another sale again, and then I have to stop. And so anyway, it's been wonderful, and I thank you very much for putting all of this together.
Yeah.
And I'm learning a lot. I want to do more outdoor pieces. Something that I really love is I like working with metals. And so you'll see aluminum and copper in the mirrors that I do. And I'd like to bring that into some of the outdoor pieces. Aluminum, you really don't have to treat. It weathers really well. The copper would be something. And I do treat the copper in my mirrors because when I started doing these, I found out people wanted to put my mirrors in their bathroom. So I have to put a tarnish preventative on there. So I do have to seal for the metal. But anyway, yeah, so you'll see me start to try and work in metals into my outdoor pieces.
I love it. I did a very minimal amount, but putting 3D like eyelashes and whiskers on different things so that it can have, you know, different effects. And yeah, you know, being creative is so important. I've always said, bend the rules, don't break the laws. And the rules are art. You know, we need to bend our art rules. We need to take artistic license. We need to do what makes us feel good. And the laws are the integrity of the materials that have to work together for the elements. And those are, to me, that's just the most important part, is that I can present myself to a client and say, artistically, I'd like to do this, but I will make it on this with this and those materials, and I know it will last. And those are the important things to learn the right way to do them, unless you're going to be like me and have your mosaic fold in half. But that was 20 something years ago. So I'm here to like help you guys not do that. But I can't thank you all enough for being here. I did want to say, but there's so few of you on here now, so I'm going to send an email, but we're going to start do a prompt, like a challenge that is going to be for the month of June, that is going to be working in a monochromatic piece. So everyone's going to make something in monochromatic, and it doesn't have to be large, like 6 by 6, 8 by 8. If you want to get an easy frame, go for it. You don't have to, but we're going to be able to share in June. Yeah, because we're in May right now. In June, we'll share either they'll be finished or where you're at in it, and we'll talk about what it's like to work with all kinds of materials, but in one color. And you don't have to pick, I'm not going to pick your color, but you're going to pick your color, and it's going to stay in one color. and different materials. And so that will be announced in the next couple days. And the community is just growing and growing. So it's so wonderful to have you guys here to learn, here to be inspired, and you guys inspire me. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So
Thank you
Great.
so much for doing
Thanks,
this.
Tammy. That'll
You
be a
bet.
fun project. I like that idea. That'll
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah. I think it'll be
Thanks.
really fun, and it'll really be engaging for all of us to kind of come together and talk about what it was like to have to pick different materials but stay in one color. Because I think that kind of actually can be a bit of a challenge in a good way.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, you guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye.